So I went out tonight. Definitely had lingering emotions, and it showed, and it affected things. As I'm getting home, I realized that I had to conclude it at least the right way. For me, my way. You can't have a conversation with somebody when they're on a different plane of existence. I've been fine. I've been doing for months, Christ, a year minimum. And when you wanted to waltz back into my life, I told you I didn't want it, asked you, nicely even, and it didn't matter because it's what you wanted. And yes, I felt it was justifiable to get off my chest the shit that I did, how I talked to you, treated you. I knew there'd be something to learn from this. I just didn't know this was going to be the direction that it was going to take. And it's actually better because it has a stronger plot line, I guess. I'll bring this up later again, but I'll say it now. I continued because I wanted to see if I was right. It's my thing. It's been my problem my whole life, and I was. And in a way, I got what I wanted, which is good. I knew how this was going to play out. I knew that I would come from a place of remembering and reciting and having justifiable reasons for my feelings and reactions. And you would take the position of whatever comes out of your mouth first that will do the most damage. Doesn't matter what it is. I'm not the only person. I'm not the first. Definitely not the 100th. And I won't be the last. I don't understand how you obviously, but a person can't see what they're doing. Can't realize just the truth of things. You had people reaching out to me for you for whatever stupid reasons to make up that you couldn't get a hold of me and all this other bullshit. And it was between those lies and everything else that they realized what I did and realized that I was right. And every one of them apologized, which I find amazing. It actually felt good because when you're right about something, you're right. Especially when you have somebody on a vindictive terror run that just wants the world to burn. And actually, I'm going to pause it right here because I'm going to try to find this video that, since this is it, it sums up everything that you are. So, I'm going to... Okay, so after realizing it, I couldn't unsee it, And I've even attempted a couple times to try to describe it, but this is you.
With respect, Master Wayne, perhaps this is a man you don't fully understand either. With respect, Master Wayne, perhaps this is a man you don't fully understand either. A long time ago, I was in Burma. My friends and I were working for the local government. They were trying to buy the loyalty of tribal leaders by bribing them with precious stones. But their caravans were being raided in a forest north of Rangoon by a bandit. So we went looking for the stones. But in 6 months, we never met anyone who traded with him. One day, I saw a child playing with a ruby the size of a tangerine. The bandit had been throwing them away.
So why steal them?
Well, because he thought it was good sport. Because some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
That sums up anything I could ever say. And you'll never get it. But at least you've seen it. I didn't think I could be disgusted again by you. Places you'll go, the things you'll do. Which was good to hear because I never had any doubts about us being over. You obviously do. That's a you problem. I can't make you realize how absolutely crazy it is to think in any way I owe you anything. And when I came home, of course I had messages. I don't know who these people are. There's like 3 of them. At least I think 3 or 2. I don't know. I don't pay attention to who sends them, but they're there. I watched about 3 minutes of one video you made today or something. I don't know. You brought up a good point about your buddy Don. Yeah, not only does it prove again, like, it takes being hurt by truth and facts of what happened for you to come out and admit even more fucked up, dirty shit you did. And that doesn't, like, ever sink in to say, like, fuck, like, you know, he hurt me because he was bringing up things that hurt me, but they were true. And I turned around and all I did was admit more fucked up things I did. Yeah, I know all about him. I was even told how this, when you're pregnant with your daughter, that you were driving around blowing them every night. Like, but you'll never fully get it like you do. And it bothers you so much because you lost. It's your own game that you wanted to play. But you know how I felt. Chalk it up to whatever Jamie wanted to say to you to get in your head, and it worked. I was already planning on leaving the country. Had nothing to do with needing my name changed. The only thing I took from it was, if I'm going to get married, I'm going to want a fresh start. Because, like, everything's gone. Charges are gone. It's all bullshit. You saw the fucking email that he wrote when I found it a year later, a year and a day. Actually, it was 2 years later, but it was a year and a day after that I read that email. Like, You've seen these things and you still say what you do. That's where I'm different from someone like you. I may hurt your feelings, may make you angry, frustrated, but I'm not saying anything that isn't true. I'm not. You go to whatever will draw the most blood, because once you're not getting the response that you want, or not only want, but think you deserve, you go dark. And I knew I would be right. I wanted to be wrong. I'm almost done with this, because there's more pertinent points that I want to bring up that actually have been on my mind too. You have to live with what you did. I don't think I've really mentioned it much other than here and there, but haven't stressed. I remember all of it, like the way you treat me, the way you talk to me, the way you manipulate me. And how do you not remember what leads up to where everything is? I kept warning you, I know what's going on, but it wasn't about you. I felt like I deserved it because my own problems. You want to hold it against me because I lost all interest in sex for years. Well, tell you what, when your daughter, if you have the chance, gets to be about 4, and you won't, but let's say pretend in an alternate reality where you're actually human, you spend as much time or even half as much time with her as I did with my kids, and she's intelligent, articulate, speaks better than probably people twice her age, and have your 4-year-old daughter describe to you in detail numerous times every week of the new events that happened to her. And we're talking things that happened here, and that's normal here even to an extent, but yeah, you kind of don't care or even think it's appealing. So, not wanting to have sex with you because you had herpes definitely helped. I mean, yeah, you eventually told me, and I tried to accept it, but knowing that who you are and what you were doing, I wasn't taking. Look at now, what if you gave it to me like you did to him? Where would I be? Married and separated and have herpes. So you think I'm wrong for looking out for me for once? But no, I'm not ever having another one of these days. Again, I've been not complacent, but content, enjoying that I care about life again, beauty and things. And I'm never having another day like this ever again. Because I am absolutely disgusted in you. Fucking disgusted. I don't even have to say anything more. Take my pause as looking at everything, realizing what it is, because it is what it is. And I guess I couldn't have expected it to happen any other way. I knew eventually you'd try to come back into my life. And when I wouldn't allow it, that you would do what you're doing. You would go to the ends of the earth. You would burn whatever ground you could just to gain ground. Because even bad publicity's publicity. Because you're kind of like the Donald Trump of women. Just, you're fucking awful. You're delusional. Everything you say is bullshit. You know, constantly, every time you say, I'm taking care of my kids, it's like I want to throw up. And you're trying to sell that shit story on social media. And what else? All I did was call you out on it. You know, I could literally again spend probably 2 hours in the, I don't know, probably a couple hours minimum, doubling the time to reply to everything you said that was a flat out lie, completely delusional even, but you wouldn't see it. And I know you do, but you choose to ignore any kind of response or responsibility in any of it and keep forging forward. I don't know. I don't get that. Okay. The best getting even I can is not saying shit to you, because yeah, I definitely fucking burn you, and it burns your ass hard. And that was fun for a while because I needed that. You fucked me over how many times? And you still don't get that. Like, how many times can you fucking cheat on somebody, lie to them, do the things you've done, and then just like it never happened? It sickens me that there's people like that. But to say things that you know, fuck, if you're delusional, you're crazy, you're fucking blaming medications that I doubt you're taking. You didn't take your fucking Valtrex. That's for sure. So I doubt you're taking your mental meds. Just whatever helps you sleep at night to get to where you're at, you know, that's you. But how do you feel like you're winning in any way? Maybe with dumb people that you target, or people that don't have that kind of fucking warped perception of like reality like you. You know, I married you because I loved you. I chose you because I thought you chose me, which I knew better, but I wanted to be wrong. We both know it. I could have gotten back with Colette. You were right there when I was on the phone with her, and she begged me to come to Binghamton. Talk about one of the hardest things I had to do, say no. And it wasn't even that it was hard, it hurt. I didn't do it for any other reason but my feelings. So I guess that's one of the best parts of all this is you can pretend like you want to. You can say the shit you want to. You can try to hurt me because I've hurt you with just reciting the shit you've done and said. But we both know it's true. And that's your life. But leading into it, when I got to Pennsylvania, I was in, this is where I slowly trickle away and move on in my life, because I've already blocked you. I'm waiting for, you'll find out. I think you kind of know because you removed the video. When I got to Pennsylvania, I was in White Deer Run, met Aaron, clicked, hung out, came back to reality again, started talking, thinking, and then they shipped me off to the other side of the state to Williamsburg, I don't know, Cold Forge. And while I was there for a while, twice, over a couple months, and I actually got to meet the first human being I've ever felt associated with, that I understood, that they understood me. And the most ironic part of all of it is his name was Jonathan. He's a bodybuilder, young kid, probably 22, and he is, even though he's gotten away with it, he's high functioning Asperger's. Like, and we used to call him Superman. I mean, he looked like fucking Dean Cain. He looked like Superman. He's built like a motherfucker. But I mean, you knew he was autistic. You knew he was on the spectrum. And first conversation I had with him was about a week after being there, and we're in line, and he turns around. I don't remember. Something about being close, and it offsets his autism. And I thought, wow, like, wait, he came across like that, like he brought that out right away. So it's obviously something that's on his mind. And then during groups and meetings and shit like that, I started paying attention to him, and he's very self-aware. And we chit-chat here and there. And the time to go to the gym. We had mandatory 2 meetings every day, after lunch and after dinner. And we're sitting out in the yard in between. And I don't know how the conversation started, but I'm fucking getting goosebumps now, remembering. He's telling me about his ex-girlfriend and how she fucked him over, like, bad. And, like, he's the first person that I listened to everything they said, and zero part of my thoughts ever went to figuring out his intent or direction, or maybe he was meaning something else. But he was the first person I ever met that I knew was literal on everything he was saying, and it actually mattered. And so I listened. Yeah, fuck. How it came out, but he's telling me how, like, he stayed in the relationship. He knew it was bad, but anyway, basically, between us going back and forth and me getting like fucking high school girl excited because I know where this is going, and he finally says, I I stayed with her and let it run its course. I knew what was going to happen, and it did. But I wanted to be wrong. And I swear to fucking God, if I've ever gotten a mental erection in my life, it's the first time in my life I've not felt alone. That I'm weird for how I think, and maybe there's something to it to find that in high-functioning Asperger's. But I didn't see him that way. He was eclectic, but aren't the smart ones all in some way? And he was brilliant. He actually trained wrestlers, like WWE wrestlers, to get back in shape. Like, no joke. And, but I'm not alone. I'm not the only person I've ever met that thinks the way that I do, which is kind of ironic again, that I thought maybe that's my problem, is I'm on the spectrum to an extent, and I'm just high functioning, and I'm caught in that limbo of being in between, of self-aware, questioning, and maybe I am. To be honest with you, it kind of makes the most sense for how I perceive things, how I remember them. But leads me into talking to him. I find, like I said to him, I said, Jonathan, you know, I've heard you interact with other people, and one of the very first things that you'll come out with in human nature, I know it's something that you bring up because it's on your mind and you're always worried it's on everyone else's. You bring up that you're on the spectrum and you're a little different. And, like, I stopped. No, stop. Like, don't. Because, and I said, dude, I think, like, you're the next evolutionary jump in humanity. And to an extent, I think I'm right. It's just working out the kinks, but I think that's kind of what the beginning, whether autism was created, which makes the most logical sense because it doesn't come out of nowhere and rampant as it is without some unnatural cause. But either way, once we level out, I think that's where we'll be in 100 years. Literal, almost emotionless, but filled with emotion. I mean, he cared, he loved, he sang like a fucking kid could sing. Amazing person. And I realized probably was the whole reason why I ended up in Pennsylvania. I needed to meet him. After I met him, I knew things were different. I finished up my program, got my coin, got my certificate, got out, ended up in Philly. After about a couple weeks of drive-bys and motherfuckers staring me down from my trench coat leather, you know, didn't take long to buy a fucking gun, I'll tell you that, because everybody had one. And Aaron reached out, and he's like, hey man, I'm at this halfway house, I don't remember where, somewhere in Pennsylvania, but he's like, you know, can you do me a favor and send me $60 to get a bus, or can you give me a bus ticket to my ex-girlfriend's house, and you know, if you want, you can come out. And I'm like, you know, that's fine. I'll send him a ticket, and went back upstairs and started thinking about it. I'm like, okay, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm out. Literally packed my shit as I'm ordering an Uber to the bus station, and I was about 15 minutes early from getting on a bus to Williamsport, which was a 6-hour fucking drive. Oh my God. No, it was longer than that even, because we hit every stop. But I found myself in Williamsport, back with hanging out with Aaron and his fucking crazy ex-girlfriend or whatever she was. And mom and popville, beautiful town, home of the Little League World Series, no less. And some of the easiest places to get some of the hardest drugs. And I decided I wanted a proper run at my accord with your drug of choice. And ooh, did I. And then Erin, she was just fucking nuts, strung out. Aaron couldn't take it. I don't blame him, but left me there. He's like, bro, I gotta go. And he's gone. So I'm stuck at the apartment with Mandy. And I'm thinking, you know, she understands that it ain't gonna happen between me and her, but, you know, hearing her story and knowing it beforehand even, I hope that I could convince her by my actions and words that, you know, I could be somebody that for once in her life she could actually trust to have a roommate with. I get it. She couldn't. Fucking tweaked out, accusing me of stealing a fucking SIM card. Like, I came there with a Obama SIM card that I didn't need because I still had my cell phone account, my international phone number that I thought would work here other than just 1 month. So I'm like, here, you want this? And I gave it to her, and then hers came up missing. And she, I think, just used that as an excuse because she started seeing something anyway. So I was on the street again, staying at hotels. I'm like, back to rehab now, do my 30 days, get out, and then leave. I had no idea about any of these fucking charges until literally I got on a plane. I was on the plane, before I heard something and I didn't even entertain it because I didn't want anything to do with it. I wasn't going to let anything get in my way. I was about 4 hours out. I was fucking going crazy on Molly with J-Dog in the hotel room. And it wasn't until I got on the plane and actually checked and said, oh my God, what the fuck did you do? Because again, that's all you. So, from a person that had it all, was the envy of everyone, perfect life for 10 years, perfect father, perfect life, perfect credit, didn't need to date, didn't care, had my kids, had a perfect life that everyone was envious of, coaching sports, PTA, going to school events, and then I wouldn't say it wasn't my arrogance. It was taken that way, and I understand it because when things happen over and over again, eventually it's going to go from being nice to kind of being a dick. So when I failed to save my daughter, that was the beginning of my end, because I went to, and I'm stating, you know all this, but I'm stating this for maybe them, in case I'm not here to explain it, at least in my words. I went to CPS after my daughter told me everything she did. I went to CPS, I went to McMahon Ryan, and because the very first CPS case set the standard, nothing mattered, because Erin was so convincing. Erin and her mother being there, which mother's a 10-year Department of Social Services worker that still works, friends with judges, works on the top floor of the Civic Center, like connected, on top of Grandpa being the fire chief of a local town next to Syracuse. When the CPS got there, they listened to her, and basically the gist of it was is she told them that, mind you, I never drank at all for 12, 13 years, and I had my son 8, so 4 or 5 years before I even had custody of him, I didn't drink at all. Like, and you can't consider drinking once every 3 months, maybe, as even a drinker, and maybe 1 or 2. But she had told, whatever, but from what I'm gathering, she told them that I was a drunk, that I was a genius who was a mastermind, and I was going to win at all costs against her. I had Miss Mages, let's call her, fuck it, Terry, come to my house. This was when I'm trying to get insurance for my daughter. She refused to because she didn't want her going to a doctor. She didn't want her talking. She didn't want her out of her sight. She wanted her scared. So and she was born deaf, like 80% deaf, was told that at birth she failed her first 2 hearing aid tests and would need hearing aids before she was 3 months old. And she never did anything with it. I didn't find out until 3 years later that she actually took her to her first appointment to get hearing aids and then never went back. But she, between her ears, her eyes, all these medical problems that I didn't know at the time, that she was a heroin junkie. I had no idea. She was a fuck buddy. Once or twice a year, maybe, get a phone call. Hey, you want to fuck? Yeah, I'm single. Okay, come over. Have sex a couple times. Gone. That's all I needed. I was happy the rest of my life. Like, fuck a couple hundred women. I didn't really need to prove anything else to myself anymore. And she just got pregnant. And then when she did, I didn't know about it. And then when I found out she was pregnant, it was right around the same time I found out she was a drug addict. So after all that happened, I went the legal routes, the law guardian, who didn't care because he was up for law guardian of the year that year. So he didn't give any shits about his clients. Mr. Fuckface Fitzpatrick was on a re-election year. And after reaching out to his office and being turned down, showing up a couple times to hopefully speak with someone and refused directly by him, I got on social media, made some waves, because at that point I tried the right way. And after hearing what I did from her, I went to war. Went to war with everyone. And I don't regret that. It's my fucking kids. I would burn this world to the ground for them and murder every single person in it and not feel an ounce of remorse if it was for them for a purpose. So, yeah, if you mention that people hate me, the ones that actually do, they should, because I went after them the right way, but still annoying as fuck. Went after the jobs. I posted. I showed up. I was annoying. And then I got stuck in my own self-pity and realization that I didn't realize half of this shit until the end. I was fighting a war against Aaron that I didn't really truly understand the game. I didn't understand what she would say, what she'd accuse, like, and that was my problem. I wasn't smart enough to save my daughter. And it eventually consumed me. So then, after I fought like I did, to have my son turn around and suddenly go from like my best friend to just picking fights with me and fucking with me all the time. I didn't care. I just started to not care. Started to drink. Like really drink. Like I started to drink so I wouldn't have nightmares. That's the whole reason why I started drinking. When no other reason. My night terrors were bad. I wouldn't tell my worst enemy the shit that Abbi told me. I wouldn't put that in their head. Because it's that fucking bad. And if I'm saying that, I'm not some schmuck intelligence of a fucking gnat. It ruined me. So, at that point, Robert was at my throat. I had had my heart attack. My heart was feeling like it was then, and I was convinced that I was done. I knew it, I was. So I said to myself, you know what, I'm just gonna go on and bang. It's the craziest fucking thing I can do now that I've pretty much like lost everything. Because I knew what Robert was leading towards. Like, he wanted mom's love. I understand that. Every boy wants his mom to love him. And she started to show him attention. Was completely against spending any money on kids at all. Her hard-earned money. Fuck. Wouldn't even celebrate Santa Claus because, and I've heard it enough times to memorize it, I'm not going to let a fat man in a red suit take credit for my hard-earned money. Like, fucking stripper whore. You can't go to the dollar store and spend $10 on 10 things. This is from Santa. Everything else is from me. Just for the nostalgia of it. But no, that was the point you wanted to make. So your daughter never got to experience Santa. But now you're buying Xbox Ones and PS4s, and after me basically calling you out and saying, you know what, you're a piece of shit, Mom. I don't fight you on child support. I haven't had it increased, even though I know you're making probably twice as much as you have been. I get by after my kids are taken care of, and then the house and responsibilities, and anything, which was never anything, was left. I might have gotten something used, something, and that was fine. I felt okay with that. And I convinced her to start coming around twice a week. There's no reason she started driving to Syracuse. She couldn't take me to fucking dinner once a week. Anyway, so because she tried to burn me in court so many times, and I humiliated her, and I did. She's actually pre-law from fucking Alfred. And I shut her down. I shut her paid attorney down. I was on fucking fire. I was in fuego in that. When it came to Robert, I mean, obviously he's never going to know that, but I shut her down every time she spent, if money or not connections from her ex-husband, paying for the lawyer. It was all for nothing because I walk in, say a couple sentences, shit's done. It was never about her. Once it became a situation, yeah, I let her know that she's a part of it now. So she wanted to get even with me. So when I'm explaining to her that, you know, I had my heart attack, I don't know what's going on between me and Robert, but I don't think I'm gonna be here. I can feel it. I can feel my heart going. Like, yeah. So I'm gonna go to China. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if I'm gonna make it back. It's a one-way ticket. Like, but I want to do something for me. So planned it out. I asked her to watch over the house, gave her the key combination. She was going to let Jay out every night for me. You know, Robert get off the bus every day after school, hang out until she got out of work. It was set up, and I thought it was okay. So I get to China, and that was its whole experience in itself. Between, real quickly, being a world famous rock star, traveling across the country to cities that you can't even understand the description without seeing it to know what it is, to being worshipped or treated as a prophet at a church that it took me well over a year of every night sitting out on my curb in front of my house, just staring, wondering what the fuck was I to them. But in that time, when Dave and Shirley in Shanghai talked to me, hey, you know, we're going to Yiwu. You want to come with us? Oh, and their son and his son, Hudab. And I'm like, okay. So when I got to Yiwu, and before I left, Robert's therapist had told me, like, he heard everything, he knew everything that happened. I just walked away from court because what was happening is Abbi would go through what she did for a couple days at her mom's, and then when she'd come to me for the 4 or 5 days for the rest of the week, she'd tell me everything, and then I would end up telling CPS, and then CPS would come, they'd investigate, they'd go to her and tell her the allegations, and then when Abbi got home, Abbi was told that, and I heard this verbatim, Mommy has speakers in the wall, Mommy knows what I say. I can't talk anymore. That's how fucking. So I had to walk away, and that was the deciding factor. And in 6 days, I drove 2,000 miles to get a passport, a visa, and on a plane with money that I pulled out of my ass at the last second by refinancing my car, changing my insurance date, and downgrading one thing. I actually ended up making $200 off of all of it. I fucked the financial company that buys out loans and then you pay a fuck ton for it. I fucked them at the end of it. But I got there, and in Yiwu, Dave and Shirley, third day there, I'm like, you know, take a walk, you know, check out the commodity center and let us know. So before I left, Robert's therapist, who I would talk to, trying to help him, because before I had just given up. He had heard everything I said, and this is why I hate shrinks. Not only was it the worst fucking advice a person could ever give, but I did it, and then I couldn't live with myself. He'd said to me, I think, and mind you, he never spoke. Just listen, he was one of those. So I was even all more intent on listening. I think that the only way that you're going to be able to get over losing your daughter is to treat her as though she died. Until, you know, maybe she comes back in your life one day. First, I'm like, fuck you, dude, in my head. got out, was like, I didn't let Robert see it, I didn't let him see it, but I'm fucking furious in my head that he'd say something like that. And then I'm like, well, you know, I don't know. So wasn't even in my mind at the time when I left, and got to Iwu, and as I'm walking around lost in the middle of nowhere, I found a park. Beautiful. Oh my God, it was gorgeous. And it came back in my head, and I looked at it, and I knew. I kept fighting myself in my head saying it, and I finally did. I'm like, this will be where I mentally bury Abbi. And then, God, I can feel it again, that disgusting feeling. I walked over to the bench, I sat down, tears in my eyes, like, and then before I realized it, I'd been there hours sitting there. Because I knew infinite time and infinite money, I'd never find this place again. And so I said, well, okay, I'm gonna bury myself with you. And at that moment, when I stood up finally, it was like 11, 12 o'clock at night, when I stood up, I could actually feel it, like I was dead. I was literally a corpse walking. And then it took a while to actually realize what it was I was feeling. And it was a lot of shit. And was it. When I had that in my mind, I went back to the hotel, actually drank that off, woke up in the morning, went to lunch, and went to a couple places with Dave and Shirley, went about the day, didn't let it show that I was dying inside. And then that night, went to sleep. Middle of the night, I woke up. Fucking John Denver, Country Roads. How many times that song in many ways came back into my head. That song playing in my head. I knew I had to get home. I didn't know why, but I knew. And I spent $400 more than my ticket there to get back. Actually, it was twice plus 400 for what it cost me to get there, to get home the next day. And when I got back and got dropped off at the house, I walked out to the mailbox, got the mail, and in there was 2 things from Onondaga County Court. And I looked at just tells you anything. I looked at the date, or the dates of submission, and the first one that was submitted was removal of child support, because it's about priorities. The second one was for custody for abandonment. So I'm furious. I don't even walk into the house. Go to the car. I bought this giant fucking 3,000 piece fucking Lego Batmobile, life size, from him, knockoff, decool. Awesome. Wanted to surprise him at school. Drove there. He was shocked and I guess almost disappointed to see me, now that I'm looking back at it. Gave him the toy. We went home. I walk in the door. Fucking house is trashed. And Robert's like, what the hell happened? He actually said that. I'm like, I don't know, man. Well, beer can, like, I had beer cans for like the last 2 years, which had to be about a 30 rack worth, and maybe a bottle of Captain when Beck came to visit with his kid, and that's what he drank. But yeah, and she grabbed those bottles out of the shed, trashed the house, left food and milk, and took pictures and went to CPS and said I can't take care of my kid. And I jumped into action, and the only thing I did was just prolong it for a couple months, maybe. And I think it actually probably made it worse, but it was already set in motion. I had already went to war with Onondaga County with McMahon. Who the fuck gets an order of protection from a child advocacy center? Bunch of fucking scumbags that don't care about fathers, first of all, immediately think they're the bad guys, and don't even care to listen to truth and facts, anything. So I would already lost. And then that was it. And I became that person. So I am sorry I failed you, Abby. Because I did. I wasn't smart enough to save you. That's really what it boils down to. Because about 3/4 of the way through, I realized it was that kind of game that I had to play. Didn't want to, but I still didn't figure it out. And I promised you I'd save you. That our last conversation, I don't know if you'll see this, you'll remember, but Robert begged me to not let you go because you begged me to not make you go home to Aaron, and I knew what was going to happen. I knew the cops were going to show up. I knew, because of this happening before, that it would become an issue and that'd be it. But I did it for them because I knew it'd be the last time we'd be together. And we talked, and I did my best to prepare you that honey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't able to help you. And it's probably going to be a long time before you get to see me again. And I'm sorry. But you need to be brave. You need to be strong. Don't let mommy break you. Don't let Danny break you. And when you're ready, honey. You're ready to talk to a protector and you feel safe, you'll talk. And then you'll be okay. And maybe I'll be there too. I'm still waiting for that day. It was Brub. I've been on a seesaw with emotions. Because I could understand reasonings, your justification at a 12-year-old mind, or that I was failing you as a father because I was devastated for losing my daughter and your sister, and you think I fought hard for her. I fought harder for you. I did. You'll never know it, but that's actually the truth. For 3 years, I fought just to be in your life, just to know you, and I think it would have been easy to move past. Hard it would have been to swallow, knowing the devastation that it did. It would have been all right because it would have been. But getting that email a year and a day after your birthday, the 30th next year, and not even seeing it, because I was so fucking dead inside. Wasn't until I was dating Gabrielle did I stumble onto the email and lost my shit. Yeah, I could definitely say my emotions took a drastic turn then. and I didn't think that I'd come around again from it. I can't even say I had a feeling that was there. It just, I didn't know what to say. I just knew what I felt. And I was okay with leaving it at that. And then, I don't know, been on my mind for about a year now. Not gonna lie, I finally looked you up about 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Saw a picture of you. Looking good, kiddo. Suit and tie. It's my boy. I'm sorry that I changed. I lost my mind. I couldn't accept what was my reality. I couldn't. But I'm sorry. I am. I don't know if I should say this. I know I should, because I feel it, and I mean it in my way. And I don't expect a return reply towards it, but I forgive you for why you felt the way you did. I don't want to leave this earth without ever actually sitting down and saying these things. Kind of sucks that I have to piggyback off that piece of fucking trash. But I got here. At least you can kind of get a better idea what's happened. Since then, I was drunk, suicidal, trying to die for years. Met a fucking goddess in rehab that gave me the best pickup line the world has ever heard. Oh my God, it's the little. And she was absolutely the one that I lost. I don't think it was meant to be, but it was meant to happen. And we had our falling out. I am responsible because I gave in to nagging. And eventually it was, okay, I was interested, and she almost died because I said yes. She didn't understand that the drugs in Syracuse were not the same as in Binghamton. Like, Binghamton actually had the real shit. We have recreation chemicals that will kill you. And she almost died because of me, and I couldn't get over it. She couldn't get over me not getting over it, and we broke up. And in that time, I ran back into Gabrielle. Make no mistake, it was something that, being at where I'm at now, it's not that I'm glad it happened, but I think it's the only circumstances that had to happen the way it happened. No other way for me to be where I'm hopefully going now. But I went through hell with her. Obviously, I'm sorry for any shame or embarrassment you might have felt. You'll find out. You'll have people reach out that'll tell you, get examples of stories. But I was right that night when I don't know if she was still there and went to the bathroom, or we were in the kitchen, and I think she had left, and I said, I see myself marrying her. Yeah, we did. And it was, I can't argue with the entire world saying it was the dumbest thing I ever did. Because absolutely, like, I disappointed Pop. He's never been disappointed in me. I don't know. You end up seeing this in some way. You turn 18, and I'm still here. You want to take a trip? Maybe we can go on vacation someplace, or you can, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't think I'll be there for it. But yeah. I would like that. So that being said, I think this kind of gives me I hate the cliche of it, but the closure, having things happen, rehappen, having to live with, coming for full circle like this, even joined together in the same videos, bizarre as it is. I had two big things on my mind, and they were at war, and they both won. If you get this, if you see this, it's a woman named Dawn. Either one of you, for some, if I'm fortunate enough that these videos find their way to you, it's a woman named Dawn. Trust me, she's already knows about you guys, and as far as I know, knows where you are, and has done her homework, because I can't, especially with Abbi. But I won't be back in the States. The only way I'll be back, and it's a guarantee, it's the day she talks, if she does, and I'm still here. Guarantee me, my word, I'll be back in that state. And I'll be righting a lot of wrongs, because I'll be lucky enough to be able to do that. I love you guys. You are my world. Even in these last couple of years, where I finally kind of found myself, that I existed, never left my mind. Right now, to sit back and think that my life was you guys, and that was perfect. Like, it couldn't have been better. And now it's completely different. It's not that it's bad. Really happy being the fucking world's greatest dad. And the envy of everyone. And yeah, my shit didn't stink. Still don't stink, but I'd like to believe that you both turned out the way you did because of my hand and my love. I don't know. I love you guys. Always.